Thematic seems a little flip. Just set my record. 30 minutes meeting, that's what we're counting on. 30 minutes. Yeah. I would like to call to order the April 16, 2019 meeting of the West Palm Beach Planning Board. Madam Clerk, if you'd kindly call the roll.
Stephen Mans.
Present.
Todd McLeod.
Here.
Peter Plivko.
Here.
Deborah Rain.
Here.
Andres Paradello. Let the record reflect that Andres Paradello is not present. Mark Pateman.
Here.
Christopher Chase. Let the record reflect that Christopher Chase is not present. Scott Holtz.
Here.
The next order of business, excuse me, is approval of the March 19, 2019 minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them? Are there any changes? If not, I'll look for a motion for approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Next on our agenda is report of the planning staff. The last of the planning staff here. I understand most are in San Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rick Green, Development Services Director. A few of my staff are in the National Planning Conference, hopefully bringing back some great ideas, but I'll be brief because I know you all want to get to the Red Sox-Yankee game tonight. So. But really just one case. Since we last met, we had a very light agenda right before the election. But the Clare Avenue mixed-use development that you saw, if you remember, on either side of Clare Avenue, divided into two phases. The northern or western phase was coming in for redevelopment. The original scheme that was approved of 173 units was changed, and you voted unanimously to approve the new concept of 178 units with 3,700 commercial square footage. Again, the height was significantly reduced from 6 stories to 41. That's the site plan with the garage in the middle, access to the warehouse district to the east, and then again an art park and a dog park in the lower left-hand corner. That was approved unanimously by the City Commission at their April 8th meeting. Another point I'll just mention, the Flagler Residential Development, 1309 South Flagler. If you remember that development with Acacia Road and the improvements there, consisting of 42 units, it was unanimously approved by the City Commission on March 11th. A challenge lawsuit was raised by the citizens for thoughtful growth. So that's something that we will be contending with and debating over the next few months. That concludes my presentation.
All right, any questions of staff?
Just real quick, Rick, what's the general basis for their cause of action?
Not consistent. They brought up Acacia Road. I didn't go through it in a whole lot of detail yet. I just got it. But a lot of references to Acacia Road, which again, if you remember, was not part of the site plan, but we'll discuss that with our attorneys and we'll go from there.
All right. No other questions? Thank you, Mr. Green. Next on our agenda are remarks by the chairperson, of which I have none. That brings us next to the declaration of ex parte communications. Let me begin by declaring that I met with the applicant on Planning Board case number 1069Z, but will base my decision solely upon the evidence presented this evening. Does anyone else have anything to declare?
Mr. Chairman, I just had, excuse me, a couple of email correspondence with Andrea Kaiser, and my decisions will be based on the evidence presented tonight.
Thank you.
And I also previously met with the attorney representing the applicant in case number 1069Z, but I will solely base my decision based on the testimony and evidence presented here tonight. I'd also like to disclose that my mother was employed by Kaiser University as an adjunct professor a couple of years ago. That will have no bearing on my decision here tonight either.
Thank you.
I have none.
I was also contacted on case number 1069Z by Andrea Kaiser by email, and we ended up having a phone conversation this afternoon. I provided copies of the emails to our board secretary for the record, but it will have no bearing on any decision made here this evening.
Which we base solely upon.
We base solely upon the evidence presented.
Thank you so much. We now move to the public hearing portion of the meeting and the swearing in of speakers. Would everyone who plans to speak or offer testimony this evening please stand up? Put your right hand up. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be truthful? Thank you. Next on the agenda are continued cases, of which there are none. Then we will proceed with the only case on our agenda, Planning Board Case Number 1069Z. Mr. Roach, filling in for Mr. Snyder?
Yes, keeping on the baseball theme, I am coming in for relief of Mr. Snyder. So, for the record, John Roach, Principal Planner for the city, presenting case 1069Z. It's with regards to the Kaiser University Community Service Plan Development. They have submitted a major PD amendment to, one, approve a site plan, but also to modify their master plan for some proposed construction, which I'll go through. So the site's located at 2600 North Military Trail. It's on the east side of Military. It was originally known as the Northwood Institute and approved in 1985. Eventually became Northwood University and is now known as Kaiser University. Again, it was originally approved in 1985, but it has gone through a number of modifications since then. You've actually been a part of some of those more recently. And they do, one important part is that they do have a maximum enrollment of 1,800 students. However, their current enrollment is actually only 580 students. But they're looking to expand their dormitory facilities to provide more options for on-campus housing for those students. Not changing the numbers as far as maximum enrollment, simply providing for more housing opportunities for those currently enrolled. Right now they have a current dormitory capacity of 320 students, and they are looking to expand that into the area that is outlined in yellow. The existing is outlined in orange. They would expand it into the area outlined in yellow, providing for an additional 208 students, housing opportunities for those. The new dormitory is proposed to consist of 4 stories with an overall height of approximately 60 feet, and I'll show you an elevation in just a second. But in addition to the structure itself, which is shaded in the light yellow here, they're also providing some on-site improvements consisting of the circulation drive that you see here, additional ADA parking, bicycle parking highlighted in red, as well as an outdoor deck or patio that overlooks the existing lake. The site overall will be incorporated into the existing pedestrian network and make it fully functional as part of the overall campus. So those are the improvements that are proposed with regards to the new dormitory. Here you can see some conceptual architecture with regards to the proposed dormitory. Again, 4 stories and 60 feet in height. This is the portion with the outdoor deck facing the lake, and then this is the front or main entrance into the building, facing the internal circulation that I had shown previously. In addition to this new structure, they are requesting modifications to their existing master plan that governs the overall site. Those areas, just as a point of reference, the proposed dormitory is outlined in the light blue here. The entire image that you see is their actual overall campus, but that's the new construction. But in addition to that new construction, they are asking to update the master plan to provide for future development on the site and identifying areas for additional classrooms, additional dormitories, graduate school facilities, and so forth. Those are all shaded here in the gray that you can see. So these are actually open areas right now that would be provided for future development. And in addition to that, they are setting aside a portion of their existing surface parking lot for the future construction of a parking garage or structure. These are planned activities for the future. They don't have the site plans to present those right now. But the way their development order is that if the master plan accounts for it, then they can go through the site plan approval process at a staff level. So long as it complies with all the zoning code requirements, then they could be approved that way. Obviously, if they need any waivers or necessitate any approvals from the city commission, then they would be back before you. But it would be modifying the master plan to provide for this future construction subject to compliance with the city's zoning and land development regulations. So those are the proposed modifications to the master plan. Staff is recommending approval subject to one condition, which was outlined on page 2 of the staff report that deals with prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, they have to do the master water and sewer plan, has to be submitted and approved by the city. And we are recommending our approval based upon compliance with section 94-32 of the zoning and land development regulations. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions of staff? Let me start on this side.
No questions.
Of staff.
I'm not sure if this would be better for the applicant, but I was wondering how does this building relate to the existing dormitories? Is there a picture of the existing dorms?
I believe the applicant's actually going to give a presentation with regards to architecture.
Okay.
They can answer with regards to that. If not, we can bring up a picture, possibly so.
Any other questions of staff? I know an issue that had come up in our meeting, I didn't know whether you're planning to address it or not, had to do with parking. Is that something we're going to discuss at all here this evening?
I believe the applicant is going to mention it. I was just made aware of it on Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to discuss that with Eric before his departure for the conference. It's my understanding that they are looking to remove a condition that was previously implemented in the development order, actually dates back a while, that talks about public activity or activities on the campus that are open to the public and scheduling of those. I can't really speak to the history of that, as I'm not familiar with, the sequence of events in which led to that. Ultimately, it would have to be something that is approved. If it's eliminated, it would have to be approved by the city commission. So staff can continue to have that discussion with the applicant. Again, on this end, it just came up on Friday, so I'm not necessarily prepared to recommend one way or the other with regards to it. I know it came up with recent applications before the city commission, and the city commission chose to leave it in there. So that's kind of the recent history of it, but that's not to say that the commission couldn't take it into consideration again.
All right, thank you. All right, would the applicant wish to be heard?
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, and members. My name is Andrea Kaiser. My address is 55 Southeast 2nd Street, Delray Beach, Florida, 33444. I am a Yankee fan, so I hope that has no bearing on tonight's decision. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present, and thank you so much for making us the only one on your agenda tonight. I wish all hearings were like this.
Well, the cost is double, by the way.
Okay, money well spent. And thank you to staff for tolerating me on a daily basis, and for John covering Eric tonight. I'm going to try to give you an abbreviated version of my presentation, and I have a copy for the record that I'll be submitting to staff. Just what's new, quick what's new at Kaiser University. Kaiser recently opened up a chiropractic clinic. We have a new location in Naples for a nurse anesthetist program and a location at the Melbourne Patrick Air Force Base. We have new cool degrees such as applied engineering, space science, space management, law enforcement operations, cinematic arts, business equine studies. We actually just had our equestrian team beat Brown University. We're really proud of that. Automotive dealer management, and thank you for your support. Our first year Kaiser football team, we finished with a record of 6-4. We anticipated, 1-9, but we did very well, and we really appreciate your support. Kaiser University flagship campus, our student population represents 57 countries, and we recently had 6 students selected for the Florida All-Academic Team. And after 42 years of being here, we're ranked #1 for nurses who passed the national exam on the first time, ranked 2 in our online division, ranked 3rd best for campus safety and security, ranked 6th in the country for culinary arts, and 8th for Best Valley Institution by Money Magazine. And we're really going to strive to be #1 here in West Palm Beach, so we're happy to be here. I'm going to skip over this slide. I think John did a great job just covering, why we're here for a major plan development amendment. We're simply just revising the master plan that was formally created by Northwood University and tailoring it to our needs. The major development project in this application is a site plan for a residence hall. Again, I think John gave you a good description. I think the only thing that I'd like to show you is that you get a one-dimensional view on your paper, so I'm just going to talk through this video, but this is a virtual 3D rendering, and I just wanted you to see in this 3D view that the facade there's movement in the facade, which you don't see always on paper with the recessed walls. The entry alcove is recessed for weather protection, intersection. The building is 3 different colors to provide continuity to our existing buildings on campus. It's made of different textured and smooth vertical panels and also different materials. The angled roof is there to break up any box-like building structures. The patio roof is an aluminum roof that you saw previously, and there are 2 access points, as you can see in this photo, one on the vehicular circulation side and one on the lake side. And in the lobby area, you've got the interior welcome desk, you have a great room with games, lounge area, you have offices, multi-purpose rooms, event rooms, possibly a gym. And then finally, you'll get a quick view of our suites in the dormitory. They are guest suites there, but we have ADA accessible suites as well as standard suites where they share a common area and they share a bathroom. And we'll just give you a quick view. That is the multi-purpose room and event space. And these are just a quick view of the suites. Okay.
Bunk beds.
Furniture, beds, TV, and that's pretty much it. Okay. Okay. The only other thing that I'll add to John's presentation is if you take a look in the north corner of your screen, we're proposing a pavilion for outdoor events and activities. And also, if you take a look at the new vehicular circulation, it says Mills Kaiser Way with an apostrophe S. We're renaming some internal roads and streets, and that apostrophe, that's an error that we made. We're going to be requesting that we remove that apostrophe as part of the final approval. I just want to point out here on the master plan, if you take a look on the north side of the master plan, there's a brand new parking lot. The one on the right is existing, and the one on the left is a new parking lot. We were going to build them out in phases, but we decided that since we're out there, since we're doing it, it was more cost effective to do it at the same time. So here you'll see that Kaiser University is building 500 new additional parking spaces, which leads me to really the only major request tonight, in addition to the approval of the site plan for the new residence hall, and that is resolution number 4818. That is the resolution that that was approved when we were seeking our approvals for the football field. There was a condition in there that we did oppose at the time of the hearing, but the City Commission did choose to leave it in. And since we're back here for another major plan development amendment, we thought we would request again to the planning board that they make a recommendation and that the City Commission approve to remove this condition. And there's new justification for removing this condition since the last hearing, which is what I want to walk you through. So the condition is that Kaiser University must make all efforts not to schedule overlapping events that are open to public at the places of assembly. And the intent of this condition was to control parking, because at the time that Kaiser University acquired Northwood, there was a deficiency in parking. But since we acquired Northwood University, we have tried to be good stewards and resolve a lot of unresolved issues and bring the site up to compliance and cure any site deficiencies on the site. And instead of, there was 587 parking spaces existing, as I mentioned, we're building 500 new parking spaces. So at a current student enrollment of 803 parking spaces, we're building 1,087 parking spaces. So now we are overparked, and we don't think that there's that parking deficiency that we once had. Furthermore, the 803 parking requirement that you see, that's inclusive of every public seat on campus. So when we were calculating our parking requirements, we had to account for every bleacher on campus, every seat in the gymnasium, every seat in the auditorium. So that number reflects parking for visitors who are coming for a public event. Additionally, in 2018, we submitted a parking study, and we said, what is the required parking if we were maxed out at 1,800 students with a football field? What would be our required parking? Our parking study said 1,007 parking spaces. Again, we're overparked. Additionally, condition number 28 in that development order requires us every year to submit verification of our enrollment. If we're ever short in parking due to enrolling more students, we have to build more parking spaces. So as we add students to the campus, which we have been doing, and We have to verify our enrollment starting this year. So in October, we will send a letter to the city. We will tell them our new enrollment. And if we're deficient in parking, we have to build more parking spaces. So every year, we'll have to build more and we won't have a deficiency. We're a 100-acre campus. So if there isn't, for some reason, there isn't sufficient parking, there's no impact on the city or on neighboring properties. Everything's contained within our 100-acre campus. 3 more points. We were reviewing resolution number 1619 for Palm Beach Atlantic University, where they did request and were approved for a new residence hall. I was reviewing that development order, and they don't have the same condition that's imposed upon us. So if you take a look at the chart on the slide, it shows that Palm Beach Atlantic University, they have over 2,227 students, not including evening and master students. They have a maximum enrollment of 3,000, and their parking requirement is the same as ours. So they have more parking challenges in the downtown area. They don't have 100 acres like we do. They have 22 acres, but yet they're not restricted to scheduling their events that are open to the public. We think we're going to need less parking in the future. The more students that live, work, and play on campus, the less commuter students we have to deal with. There's alternative means of transportation, Uber and Lyft. And finally, the reason why this is so important to us is because we want to provide a broad campus experience. We want an active campus that provides experiences for every student population. And it's a condition that doesn't restrict other universities. So we respectfully request consistency in the application of the code, and we respectfully request that you allow us to have multiple events at the university. We have to often come back to you and visit and revisit with you when we need approval for future projects. Parking is being reviewed every year with our condition 28 in our development order. So for those reasons, we kindly ask that you remove that condition or consider removing that condition.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Let me start on this side. Scott?
No.
Mark? Peter?
The resolution 4818, is that a city commission resolution, or,
Yes.
so how can we possibly alter that?
We can't, but what we can do is we can
Recommend.
make a recommendation. They look at
All
it,
right.
that's all.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fine. My only question.
No questions?
No questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Would
much.
anyone from the public wish to be heard on this matter? And if not, we'll bring it to the board, back to the board for discussion. First, does anyone have an issue with regard to the dormitory itself? There's no opposition
I
on
think you
that.
should send a picture to Palm Beach Atlantic of what a dormitory should look like.
So you like this one?
Much better design solution.
All right. I would, John, could we chat with you a little bit about the parking issue? And can you possibly pull up that one chart that she had, the comparison with Palm Beach Atlantic?
Did you make a motion that he arrived late?
No, it should be noted in the minutes. Did you note in the minutes when he came in? Thank you. All right.
I don't know if that's correct.
That one with comparison. John, I had a couple questions myself to kind of start the discussion. I realize at most we'll be doing is just encouraging either the staff to take a fresh look at this or maybe the city commission take a fresh look at it. It won't be anything more than that.
And remember, I'm a reliever, so.
I understand that, but the ace reliever, to keep our metaphor going here. You
Mr. Chairman,
had-
just one question
Yes.
for staff. Did you review the resolution, and have you analyzed it in terms of being in a position to make a recommendation about it?
Me personally, no. And,
Okay.
and that's what I was indicating, is that this just
You
came up
made
on
that
Friday.
clear.
And
You made it. Sam, all
So
we're
we haven't
talking
had-
about is,
we haven't had the opportunity to digest what was presented
Understood.
to you this evening.
understood.
Okay.
I just had a couple questions for myself. First, part of the theme that you all have been coming to us for over and over is having us rethink parking altogether. That perhaps the city, the trend has been maybe that we've had too many requirements for parking and that we should take a fresh look at this. And so I'm thinking of that. I'm looking at the comparison with Palm Beach Atlantic, and I'm a little troubled that there seems to be such disparate treatment.
Different.
And it's my understanding that staff and Eric have been working with the applicant and specifically requested a parking study with regards to the demand in which Kaiser presents.
I think she indicated they completed that study, and
Right, and I haven't seen that, and I don't know if Eric has seen that as well and had the opportunity to develop, a recommendation based
Right.
upon that. Now, I can't speak to the two universities in the sense that I have worked with Palm Beach Atlantic.
Right.
They had an overall master plan that actually dates back before I was here, at least 16 years ago, in which they had a number of parking spaces that were identified on that master plan. They had to maintain that number so long as they didn't exceed their maximum enrollment. And everything that you've seen come in recent years hasn't impacted that number of students and so forth. So she is correct with regards to the number of students and number of parking spaces. I can't speak to why that number was put in Palm Beach Atlantic's master plan a long time ago. I can speak to that Palm Beach Atlantic is a significantly different type of campus in the sense that it is urban. It is immediately adjacent to and a part of our downtown, and therefore has some incentives and opportunities that a more suburban campus does not. They also have, I believe, a larger number of, especially with the new construction of the dormitory, significant larger number of opportunities for housing within close proximity to the campus.
Although presumably with this new board, we're only talking about 588 students presently, and with a new dorm coming in. Anyway,
And the other,
go ahead.
one last thing that I want to talk about Palm Beach Atlantic is that a lot of their big generators for parking, their sports and activities like that are actually off campus at a separate facility.
Understood.
And that's off of Parker Avenue. So
the only
they're not
thing-
overlapping the educational component
Right.
with the sports in it.
The only thing I would ask, and I want to hear from the rest of the board members, first, it's unfair because you haven't had a chance to look at it and you're pitching it for him. Alls I would ask, assuming the board is supportive of it, is that we just take a look at it. That's all. And I realize you say you haven't had the opportunity to study it. I'm looking at these numbers, and they're, from the outside, they seem troubling and inconsistent. And as you said, there may be other factors that weigh into it. So my only suggestion for the board is that we ask them, staff, to take a look at this thing. And if you feel it's appropriate, then to pass that
Yeah, I
forward.
think you have our commitment to
have
take a
to.
look at, I'm not in a position to make a recommendation one way or the other, but I will commit that staff will work with the applicant with regards to this information. And
I suppose we could make a recommendation that staff look at it.
Yeah, but then what do? They look at it and then it goes to the commission, we looked at it.
Sam, what are your thoughts on this? Assuming,
We need a motion of some sort, eh?
yeah, I mean, you've told us in the past that if there's an issue we think is appropriate for the city commission to take a look at, we can include that recommendation. That's all it is.
Yes, you could make that recommendation. It would not be a part of your action on the
Understood.
matter before you now.
Understood. But that would be the appropriate mechanism if we felt that way, we as a board.
Yes.
Okay. And how do the rest of you feel? Let me start on this end.
I agree, Mr. Chair. I think the city commission should take a look at this. I do think the numbers are troubling, and also I personally, or professionally, I guess, I don't really understand what this condition even really means, because I don't know how you're supposed to define what must make all efforts. I mean, how is that evaluated? Frankly, I think it's just meaningless, and I think so. I do think it's time for the commission to take a look at it, and staff as well.
So, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Scott. Look, Kaiser University is a business. I'm not going to second guess their ability to manage their parking on site. If they think that they don't need this vague and ambiguous restriction, and they think they can sort out parking in a way that continues to increase their enrollment and activity on the campus, I'm not going to second guess their decision, and I think that we should recommend to the commission that they look at this again, and staff, as you said.
Same.
Peter, same thoughts? How about you, Todd?
I would agree with the same thoughts.
Deborah?
I would agree, too, that they look into it, especially with the disparity of numbers.
Your thoughts, sir?
I support that.
All right. Well, I think now we're looking then for a motion on the matter before us tonight. So we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve Planning Board Case Number 1069Z with the one condition.
We have a motion. Have we a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Now, do we need a motion for the recommendation? Who would like to do that? Scott, I'm looking at you.
I move that we recommend that staff and the city commission look at, you took down the Resolution number
That's what happens
14.
when you get a pitch hitter.
Resolution 48-18.
Take a look at, revisit Resolution 42-18, 48-18, specifically looking at removing condition number 42.
Okay, we have a motion. Have we a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't break the record by 1 minute.
Well, hold it. We're not done yet. We're so close. I can taste it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we turn to the code revision cases, of which there are none. Other business, unfinished business, new business. If not, we stand adjourned. We did.